All right, let's start by learning how to create an ombre or a one color blending into a two color background. So I do have just a little bit of paint in both colors. I'm going to take my brush and going to just take the first color and I'm going to load my brush, meaning I'm going to work on getting that paint on the edge of both sides. Notice how I'm not getting it all to the hilt of the brush. I'm getting it just on the edge and the tip of that paint. Notice how I'm just tapping it gently. Then I'm going to come over here to the top, and the top color is going to be yellow, and it's going to blend to the bottom color green. So I'm going to work from the top, and I'm going to go in horizontal strokes to the edge of the paper. And I'm going to start from the top, and notice how I'm just going to go back and forth. I can hold my brush much like I hold my pencil, and that gives me control. Notice how I go all the way to the edge of the page. And if I start getting where the paper starts, where the paintbrush starts getting dry like that, that's my signal that I need to load up more paint. Notice how I'm brushing it into the color yellow. And I'm going to start looking at stopping about halfway down, because then I'm going to start blending in my green. Okay, now I'm getting to be about halfway, and really I can go a little more than halfway. Ooh, that was a good amount of yellow. And I want to go all the way across the page. Now, there's the bottom of my paper here. So now I'm going to switch and I'm going to use the same brush, but I'm going to bring that green out. I'm going to start loading it up with green. I'm going to go a little bit below the yellow. I'm going to start brushing, and notice how the yellow starts showing through. And then I'm going to bring the green down a little bit until I lose some of that green. And notice the yellow is starting to go here. So I'm going to come on back up. I'm going to start brushing it into blend. Oops. Into blend with the yellow. And notice what happens when I keep that horizontal movement. It starts to blend and it starts to make that ombre. You'll notice I'm starting to see some paintbrush strokes, so that's a sign also that I need more paint. I'm going to add a little bit of water to my color, and what I mean by that is I'm literally taking just the smallest amount. I dip the very edge in, and it's not going to be drippy. I'm going to let the rest of it come off, and then I'm going to come on back with my paint, and I'm going to work on that ombre. I'm going to come up into the yellow with that green. Notice how that was a really thick green, so I'm just going to keep brushing it until it blends out better. And then I know the glare kind of doesn't show it very well. There we go. Now you're seeing more of that blend. I'm going to come down with the green. And this I want to be more of a solid green. So I'm going to just keep coming down over that yellow that wasn't really supposed to be there. And now this doesn't look as blended, so I'm going to take a little more water, get a little more green paint, and I'm going to just slowly work it back up into the yellow. And notice how it starts blending. I can also, if I don't like it, it's a little too green and not enough yellow, come back with that same brush with the yellow, come up to the top, start blending in your yellow. So you can always come back with that color that you started with and kind of come across with those big, broad horizontal strokes, okay? And I'm going to come a little bit more because that green is pretty strong there. And I'm going to blend it into. Okay. I want to see what happens if I start doing vertical strokes just to see, because this is all about seeing what's going to happen. Notice how it shows that blend, and then I'm going to come across horizontal. Okay. Got a little thicker green up there, so I'm going to cover that up with yellow. And it'll really look that ombre. Okay. And I think that's looking really nice. A little more water, a little more yellow, because I see I have more yellow here than up here. I want it to blend a little bit more. There we go. Now, I'm going to finish off by taking my green, got a little clump there, and I'm going to just fill in, and I'm going to take my little Notice how it's kind of sticking to my paper here. I'm going to pull that down. That way I don't paint on my table. And I'm going to come all the way across the paper and glide across. And I'm going to fill in my background to have that nice ombre yellow to green. And the ombre just means that it's fading from one color to another in a really gentle gradient, which means that yellow looks like it just kind of blended and turned into the green there. Oops. See where I held it down with my finger? It kind of stuck to my finger there, so I'm going to come and fix that. And if I look at it, and I'm especially going to turn it so you don't see the shine, I see that I need a little bit more gradient there. So I'm going to come back in with my yellow, and I'm just going to start blending it in because the green was already on my brush. So if I kind of cover that up with the yellow, I think that looks a little more blended. Okay. So now it's blurry. But I'm gonna let that dry, and then I'm gonna come in with my next step of my project. Let me see if I can make this not be so. Here we go. Another thing I want to show you, if it will zoom in, is how to clean my brush. So I've got my cup of water, and I want to clean off the paint that's loaded up. See how it's kind of creeping up the top? So I'm going to gently touch the bottom of the cup and swirl. And notice how it's rinsing out and it's murkying up the water, which is good. That's why the water's there. Notice how I'm holding the cup so I have control and it doesn't spill. And I'm just looking at seeing how clean that brush is. Now that I don't see any more paint on the brush, and notice how I can tap gently without splashing, I'm going to tap the edge of my cup, and I'm going to take my brush and a little bit of paper towel, and I'm going to blot. And notice how more color comes out? So I'm blotting that. Notice how what I'm certainly not doing is making the bristles get smooshed. I'm not like smooshing it in. I'm just getting the water out. And then I can, now it's ready to be washed in the sink, and it's ready to go up there. So now we've got our ombre background, and we're going to move on to add in some blue bonnets.